I'm Janine Pipe, and since I've decided to relaunch this channel, I thought I'd do a really quick video just reintroducing myself to people that might not have checked the videos for some time, or saying hello to new people, and just saying a bit about what I want to be doing with this channel. So basically, I've always used this either to talk about book reviews when I was doing a lot of that, or to interview other authors when I was doing that kind of thing. And then most of my videos that have been either film reviews or interviews with people from the film industry I've done for other people, mainly Horror DNA. But I want to start having some really fun, informal talks on this channel, all to do with films. So I thought that a really fun thing to do, rather than just me pick one of my favourite films and then just go on and on about how much I love it and the people involved in it and get all fangirly and gushy there, it might be fun to talk with some other people who also love the films. That will be the one really important thing. I won't be calling them film reviews or film critiques or anything like that, because although there are always things that people don't like about films and there are always negatives and things, that's not what I'm here for. Anything that we talk about, even though we might call it a discussion, is going to be celebratory. That's always my ethos. There's enough negativity, I just like to make things positive. So I thought I would just very quickly mention some of the films that I've chosen so far for me and various other people that have been asking or that I've been inviting to come on and talk. So the first one, and I imagine if you don't know me very well and you saw the post and said that you wanted to talk about this film because you love it as well, then you might be a bit surprised at just how much I love it. But the first one is, of course, Dog Soldiers, because how could we not talk about this film on this channel with me? This is my VHS version of it. I think I've got 4 or 5 different DVD versions now, and I always, if I see a different one on eBay with a different cover on, especially if it's an international one, I have to have it. So we will definitely be talking about Dog Soldiers. I would definitely be talking about how much that I love Neil, and that is not a secret or a surprise to anybody, because if you're watching this and you don't know, let's face it, most people don't know who I am, but I actually wrote a book called Sausages, The Making of Dog Soldiers, with Neil, and our next book is going to be The Making of the Descent, which we'll be releasing in 2025, and we've already started the bare bones plans for that. But so we will definitely be doing a panel all about Dog Soldiers, why I love it, and I will enjoy hearing why other people love this film as much and seeing if it's for some of the same reasons. So Dog Soldiers, a very, very important film for me, and this is actually my original copy that I got for my 13th birthday. Terminator 2. I absolutely adore this film. It was probably one of those rite of passage coming of age films for me. I remember seeing a picture of Edward Furlong in a magazine like Smash Hits or something back in the day, and having it up on my wall when I was about 11, and hearing about obviously him being in this film. And then by the time it came onto video and you were able to buy it over in the UK, I was 13, so I got it for my, as I said, 13th birthday. This film is super, super special. Just everything about it. I've got the original script. I've got the making of books, and which I go back to reading time and time again because I just find it so interesting. And no matter what people say about Cameron being a bit shouty and a bit of a dictator on set and all of that kind of stuff, he gets the job done, and this, I think, is his masterpiece. It's one of my most favourite films, and I've never actually spoken about this one on any of the interviews that I've done before, so I'm very much looking forward to listening to what other people have to say and whether it was such a formative film for them as well. Kind of sticking with the horror but also sci-fi, another one of, I'm going to keep saying another one of my favourite films, but it is another one of my all-time favourite films, and the second with Mr. Pertwee is Event Horizon. Again, not just a brilliant film, but a really interesting story all around it, with the mythos of where these mystery missing extra bits of film are the supposed extra orgy scenes that were included and all this kind of stuff. There's like a real mystique around it, and whether the original negatives and bits and pieces will ever be found, whether somebody's actually got them, and who knows, it's all like a conspiracy theory, which just makes it more interesting. But the actual film itself, fucking genius. I absolutely love it. Hellraiser in space, I think, is how a lot of people kind of describe it. And yeah, definitely, absolutely brilliant, a haunting film. It just gets the claustrophobia, it's spot on, which is a big thing for me. It's why The Descent is another one, but like why the fear level is like amped up to 11 in The Descent, and in this one is not to do with any of the creatures or those kind of things. It's all to do with that claustrophobia for me. And the use of colour in this one was quite inspirational for when I did Her as well. Both the colours that they used in this, which was obviously like the green hues, and then the blues from the very first Saw film, quite influential in how I made Her. Anyway, that'll be fun to talk about. I've got a couple of possibly quite interesting guests lined up for that one. Not everybody's interesting, but a couple of ones that, you know, might be really good to talk to. Next is Terrifier 1 and 2, because I like to put them together, so I get to just gush about both of them. I've done a couple of interviews and podcasts and things about Damien in particular, and how inspiring I find him. I did a whole episode with Ghouls with Zoe about specifically Terrifier 2, and basically for me, I wish I could say that I'd been a fan right from All Hallows Eve, right from the beginning, but I don't like clowns. It is hard enough for me because I don't like spiders either, but it's Stephen King, so you do it. I remember seeing the thumbnail for Terrifier, you know, 5-6 years ago, whenever it was, and seeing that little tiny picture of art and being like, no way on earth am I ever going to put myself through that. And then, to cut a long story short, I met Damien and David Howard Thornton at For the Love of Horror, and they are so lovely, and Damien in particular just blows my mind. He is just phenomenal, and I tell him whenever I speak to him how amazing he is. But speaking to them made me realise that I need to watch this, because I'd listened to so many interviews with Damien. I'd been inspired to do so much of my own stuff because of Damien. Now I needed to see exactly what it was and put that fear to the one side. And of course I'd met David, so I could, you know, see beyond art, and it was one of those things where you instantly regret not having seen it before, because it's just so good, so gross, so violent, so funny, and just superb, just everything that I love. The next one is probably the only one which, actually no, there's two which are a bit off. This is, I keep saying, it's one of my all-time favourite films. This one is, again, one of just, you know, probably all of these films would be in my top 10s. But this film in particular has personal connotation for me as well, because it is Hot Fuzz, and for most people who know me, I used to be a police officer. And this is one of the films that came out while I was actually a serving officer. And see, that's all I'd ever wanted to do as a kid, was be a police officer. So I grew up watching all of those programmes. The Bill in particular, if you're British, you know The Bill. Was a absolute favourite. I would watch The Bill every single week, and just imagine that I was, you know, on the beat with them. And then as soon as you join the police, you can't watch anything like that, because you realise just, you know, obviously that you don't solve a case in a day and all of those kind of things, and sometimes the terminology isn't quite right, or because it's TV, it's like, I wouldn't do that, I'd do this, and you start shouting at the telly. So as a police officer, you don't tend to watch a lot of police stuff, but we all watched this. I remember I had it in my locker for ages, because it just kept getting passed around the station because everybody wanted to watch it. We all loved it because it doesn't take itself seriously, but it still shows the police in a good light as well, which obviously doesn't happen so much. So this film, I love Edgar Wright. I think he's amazing. I love Shaun of the Dead. I love all of the Cornetto series. I love all of Edgar's work. But this, for me, as much as I love Shaun, this for me is the film which I go back to and watch the most of his, because it is just so funny. Just absolutely, it's another film which I could just sit down and I just wet myself sometimes when I watch it. And again, another very quotable film, especially with Bill Bailey's "and nobody tells me nothing," which my kid hates when I just do that impression anyway. But yeah, so looking forward to this. And we've got another ex-police officer friend of mine that's joining for that chat, so that'll be cool. This is another one which I do love my horror comedies. I know that horror comedies can be extremely hit and miss. And I know that they are extremely hard to make, because as well as fear being massively subjective, obviously humour is massively subjective as well. And what some people will find, you know, absolutely side-splitting, other people will be completely deadpan and not understand it at all. So absolute kudos to anybody who can pull off comedy horror, because it is just brilliant. And this, Brain Dead, or Dead Alive, if I have anybody from America watching, by Peter Jackson, is just it's just absolutely hilarious, and probably the film that my husband and I quote the most. And one particular thing, which I have no idea why it just comes up time and time again, but we just absolutely love to just say simply Lionel, which is obviously the guy's name, and it's just the way that the mum says his name is just, it's one of those things, obviously you have to be there. But anyway, I don't think anybody can watch this. The fat monkey, just everything when her ear falls off in the suit, it's just it's just brilliant. And of course you've got the scene at the end with the lawnmower and all the blood, and just everything about this film is just hilarious, and I just absolutely love it. And it's just oodles and oodles and oodles of blood. And for all of the films that Peter Jackson made around this time, I think that this is just absolutely iconic, and I love it. The last one which I have physically, and I need to rectify that, but is Seven. So this is the other one on the list which isn't horror, but you could say almost falls into that category, because it is definitely very, very dark psychological thriller. And for me, I think that sometimes a dark psychological, especially serial killer thriller, I think it does fall under the same guidelines for myself as horror. So things like Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, those kind of things, very much I view with the same kind of light. And Seven in particular is not just an absolutely amazing story, with all sorts of amazing, you know, when you've seen it once, yeah, you know what's coming, but still the, you know, the head in the box, spoiler because it's years old, is just absolutely brilliant. And the cinematography in particular in this, Fincher's just an absolute genius, I think, when it comes to that. Oh, I love all of these films. It's not just the film, but it's the cinematography and the director are just amazing. But Seven in particular, I think, is one of the films which I would most like to emulate one day. I would most like to make my own kind of Seven with that dark, gritty, dirty, rainy kind of backdrop, because it just works perfectly with this. It's just, for me, Seven's almost a perfect film, and I just absolutely love it. And then the last film, which we're going to be talking about, which I don't have a physical copy of, which is shocking, and I must rectify that, is Psycho Goreman. And it's another film which I just laugh at so much. Just absolutely love it. I was lucky enough to get a screener of it and review it for Horror DNA. God, what, a couple of years ago it must be now. And it was obviously a 5-star review, and I just absolutely loved it. and it's on Shudder. Well, it was on Shudder anyway, so I've watched it a few times since on there. And I mean, the kids, the little girl in it, she's just awful but hilarious. I just it's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And again, it's one of those films where not only is it funny and it's gory and it's got all of that kind of, and it's got a good storyline as well, but also just marvel at the amazing costumes and effects and all of that kind of stuff. Again, knowing that that's a little Toronto based unit of directors and filmmakers that do all the special effects and whatnot, and Steve Kazansky, the writer-director, who also did Manborg. He's a lovely guy too. Actually, the press that I write for, Apocalypse, they did a novelisation of Manborg that I was lucky enough to blurb, and Steve's a really great guy as well. So looking forward to chatting with people and finding out if they also think that Psycho Goreman is just absolutely hilarious. It was my film of 2021, it must be, yeah, because Terrifier 2 was my film of 2022. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing that we're going to be talking about on the channel. I'm just going to be asking and inviting people that I think that I can have fun talking with these films about and seeing what their point of views are. And it's just going to be, if the people involved are filmmakers in any kind of way, then there will be an extra level of stuff that we might talk about, but it's not exclusively from a filmmaker's POV. It's going to just be, this is horror fans talking about horror films from a fan's perspective and what we as fans, and let's face it, even those of us who are indie filmmakers in any kind of way, we all started off as fans and we're all fans at the core. So that's what we're going to be talking about a bit. Anyway, also hoping to throw in a little bit of news and stuff now and again, like if I've seen something that I want to signpost people to, or signal boost, or if there's something like a Kickstarter that I can give a shout out for. I'm going to try and slot a couple of bits like that in as well, and anything that looks a bit exciting. And on that note, today is the Text Watch 21st of April, and a week or so ago I got a very interesting package from the London Horror Society. Are you up to the challenge? And if you are subscribed, and if not, make sure you are, to the London Horror Society YouTube, at 6:06 tonight, they are going to reveal exactly what the challenge is. So that's rather exciting. Anyway, so this is me. This is what I will be doing, just talking in front of the camera with some other really cool people, and it won't be technical, it won't be amazing technology, anything like that. There's not going to be bits popping up and whatnot, because I don't know how to do any of that, which is why when I make stuff I have a DOP and an editor. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about stuff, and hopefully people might listen. I hope that people do listen to it, because I hope that it might make people think, shit, I haven't seen that film for ages, and go back and realise why they love that film so much. All of the people that come on and talk with me, they'll be able to pass on their socials, anything they're working on and stuff. And so hopefully it'll just be a really cool, supportive thing with lots of people that love horror. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye.